Andrew kind of mentioned this prior to, but you talk about a life-changing event. Kind of go off topic for a little bit. I was out late last night with my children and my wife, and I came home at around 12:30 at night and decided that it was time that I sit down and write this story. So 3 o'clock in the morning, I go to bed after finally completed it, and read the fine print, I guess, is the moral of that. In looking at the title that I gave this, and those are my only notes, I just brought this up, just so you know. And you thought you had it hard. And I think maybe we all have it hard to some degree. And so I don't like that title, and I kind of maybe want to change it to, and I thought I had it hard. Because I think we all have our stories. But 12 years ago, I moved down to Baltimore, and I grew up in New York, in Westchester County, New York. And for those of you who don't know Westchester County, it's right outside of New York City. It's about 30 miles north. I dined in some of the same restaurants as Hillary Clinton and Tim Robbins and Susan Sarandon. Glenn Close came to see me perform in my high school plays, and I saw Chevy Chase at Blockbuster. And I even, talking with Tracy, had a chance to play with Paul Schaefer. And so when I moved down to Baltimore, obviously there was a whole new world for me. I always knew that I wanted to work with children that didn't have it so easy. And I went to school for fine performing arts with a content major in theater, but also did music and art as well. And I came down to Baltimore City for a job interview for Baltimore City Public Schools, and they hired me on the spot to be their theater arts teacher at a school in West Baltimore. And it wasn't through Teach for America or anything like that, but it was certainly not in a good neighborhood. And when I was at my interview, one of the things that they said to me, and I'll always remember this, is I want you to be clear that my tires were slashed last month, okay? I need you to know this. Really trying to let me know that this is not an easy job to do. Turnover rate is very high, but I knew I wanted to do it. And so I started out as a theater arts teacher my first year, and having had no educational background in college, I didn't realize what was to be expected, and I think that was a benefit for me because I couldn't go back to a book and just say, well, wait a minute, we didn't learn about how to deal with this. I had to think on my feet, and I had to think quick. One of the classes that I had my first year was a class that was a specialized self-contained program for children with emotional and behavioral disabilities. And the program director at that time was very nervous about them coming to a theater arts classroom because they usually like to go to the gym. And we were able to somehow manage to build a relationship, myself and the kids, and myself and the staff. And an opening came up 2 years later, and they asked me if I wanted to be the language arts teacher in that program, and I jumped at that opportunity. And I remember, there are certain things that you have to, you got to follow protocol in school. You have to follow certain rules as teachers, and if you don't follow these particular rules, then you have administration coming down hard on you, and that's part of being in the educational world. But one of the policies at our school is that the kids have to wear a school uniform. And it's nothing major. It's a yellow shirt and khaki pants. And a lot of kids are defiant about it, and they want to come in wearing whatever they want to wear. And we have to deal with that appropriately, and that could be, you don't get to go to gym today because you're not in uniform, or you don't get to go downstairs to the cafeteria, you have to eat lunch with us. And this was just kind of the way that things went. And we had this one child who every day he came in, and he was never in uniform. But he always had his homework. His mother seemed very engaged in all of the things that he was doing in school. She'd be calling, she'd be stopping by. But he was never in uniform. We would pull him aside and be like, listen, I need you to be in uniform. I need you to be here because right now we're not able to take what you're doing positively and share that with the school because you're always up here. And I started to think that maybe there was a reason why he wasn't coming in uniform, and the reasons that I was thinking was maybe something like, well, maybe he's having an issue with some of the kids and he doesn't want to be in gym with them. Maybe he's having issues with somebody he just enjoys eating lunch with the teachers, and so he's kind of doing this subconsciously to be able to stay up with us. But every day was the same old thing. He would come in and be out of uniform, and we'd have to give him the talking to and try to keep the day moving. And I remember one day getting called down to the office to escort this particular child down to the office. I'm thinking to myself, here we go. I'm going to get yelled at now again because I can't control my children enough to have them come to school in uniform. And there was a lady sitting in the office, and she speak with this student privately for a minute. And so I sat and I waited in the office. And came back a couple minutes later, and he went to go get his belongings and was getting ready to leave. And I asked if everything was okay. And it turns out this woman was from DSS, from Social Services. And she says, not really. I said, okay. She says, you know, he's been living in a vacant apartment for the last couple of months. And he's been coming home and taking care of his children while his mom was out on the streets. And this took me it shocked me. I mean, I knew that our kids struggled. I knew that. But I also saw these kids wearing their Jordans. And I saw these kids talking about MySpace and Friendster at the time. And I figured to myself, how bad could it really be? And I knew where I came from, and I knew what a hard day was for me. And this was the dead of winter, and this child was coming home every day and doing his homework and getting his work done and working with his siblings to make sure that they got their work done before the sun went down while his mom was out on the street. And every day he came to school, and every day he was being lectured at by us because he wasn't in uniform. And I had a job that I had to do, and I understand that. But if there was ever a life-changing moment for me in my professional life, that would certainly be it. Because at the end of the day, there are reasons why we act the way we do. There are reasons why things happen. And for me to see this child and to be able to just think about it and at least attempt to empathize with what he could possibly have been going through on a day-to-day basis and still continue to come to school and listen to us yell at him about that, I think just shows his commitment and his dedication. And I remember one of the last things that I said to him before he left was just that I was sorry. And I wasn't sorry just specifically to him, but I was sorry to all of the kids who I may look at and think, you know, if only this, if only that, you know. All those kids who don't have the parents at home that we think they do. All of those parents who know how to play the system so well that they can convince me that they are there and committed to these children, when in reality, after they get off the phone with me, they're out on the street. I want to apologize to him, you know, for all of the kids who come to school every day with their baggage so full and being yelled at for simple things like a uniform when we really can't understand what they're going through. So was it a life-changing event for me particularly? No, it's nothing that changed me physically, but certainly emotionally and professionally made me open my eyes and realize that I don't have it that bad. And that I need to make sure that every day when things are going wrong, that I stop and I take a minute to think about, you know, some of the other circumstances that are so close to us in this area. And I know throughout the rest of the morning we're going to hear a lot of stories, and some are going to be good and some are going to be hard to hear. And again, it's important, I think, that we realize that we do have our own stories, and that sometimes we need to stop and think about what we do have and the fortunateness of what we have. I don't know if I nailed everything in my 4 pages, Andrew, but I tried, and I appreciate the opportunity, so thank you very much.